Hi, here I wanted to discuss Chris Watts, who allegedly killed his pregnant wife, Shanann Watts, and two young daughters in Colorado a few days ago. He then admitted to crimes and disclosed the location of the bodies in an oil field he used to work at. But since then, he changed the story again, blaming her for the murders of the kids after he tried to break up with her. And then he claimed killing her in rage. Anyways, he's now charged with the three murders, but everyone seems puzzled how a devoted family man could have done such a heinous crime, although the rosy social media presence of this family could have been misleading. He apparently had several affairs, both with men and women, and they had financial problems. They also met under somewhat strange circumstances when Shanann suffered from severe health problems, and he seemed to not mind. On the contrary, he didn't let go. The day after the sudden disappearance of his family and before confessing, he volunteered to give an interview in front of his house, proclaiming his innocence and concern for his family. He's such a good liar, similar to Scott Peterson. And in the beginning, not knowing that he did it, one can get doubts, especially watching it several times. The key in analyzing such footage is to trust your gut feeling and your first instincts. There are a number of red flags, in fact. First, as so often such a person volunteers to interview, to control the story, to put himself in the spotlight, making himself look like the victim, and to push the investigation away from him and in the wrong direction. Second, and directly following from it, is a tendency of such a person to be overly self-confident and narcissistic, believing he can pull this off in front of the running camera and the public. The next is an utter lack of empathy for the victims and their families. But let's have a look at the interview.
It's the most important thing. I'm not sure. I'll just wait for you to ask a question. But I want them wherever they're at. I have no inclination to where they're at right now. I've exhausted every friend that I know of, and
so immediately what springs to mind is his soft voice and his innocent, quite pleasant demeanor. A beard like that normally indicates a person who is in touch with his feelings and soft. There are different types of beards which can mean different things, but this is certainly an indication that he looks quite harmless. It's hard to believe that he could kill his pregnant wife and young daughters. Appearances can be misleading. However, some serial killers look already odd. As their feelings, the inner state of mind expresses in the face and distorts it. This is not appearing here. He's also very calm. One way to control for involuntary micro-expressions and leakage of feelings is to go in stealth mode, where everything appears slow and controlled, as the mind is busy with controlling the voice and the speech. The face and body movement is normally neglected, and so it looks very still, like a facade. However, here it's not that bad. Let's look again.
I want them wherever they're at. I have no.
So he looks in a different direction. He's not staring down the cameraman. This is normally a good sign. However, there's no sign of distress in his face. He looks too calm.
No inclination to where they're at right now. I've exhausted every friend that I know of, and every friend that I have has called friends that Shanann had.
So he exhausted all possibilities. So he's trying to push the investigation and the blame away from him in other directions. So the asymmetric shoulder shrug is not a particularly good sign we just saw. If he's just expressing his uncertainty about something, one would normally use both shoulders. There's some sort of hidden message here when only one shoulder goes up.
That maybe I didn't know about.
Here again.
And it's just
this is again a good sign that he looks away and he uses illustrators. So he's not forgetting to move his body. That's remarkable.
It's vanished. She's not. When I got home yesterday, it was like a ghost town. She wasn't here. Kids weren't here. I have no idea where they went.
However, no concern in his face.
And it's just earth-shattering. I don't feel like this.
Earth-shattering, and again, he doesn't express it in his face. It's not congruent with his facial expressions.
It's even real right now. It's like a nightmare that I just can't wake up from.
So he's expressing his nightmares. So that's not a good sign because he's not expressing concern for his wife and kids. There's no evidence that it's a nightmare yet. So he's assuming already something other people don't know. The licking of the lips is also not a good sign. It might mean that he has a dry mouth, coming from the unpleasant feeling of lying. But he's also sealing his lips, meaning that he holds back information. He's afraid of spilling too much.
Bella was going to start kindergarten next Monday. And
This is remarkable. You don't see any change in demeanor when he talks about his daughter Bella and starting kindergarten. So here you could imagine one loses control when talking about the little daughter in the kindergarten, but he shows no sign of being scared or being found out or any sign of guilt. He's not looking down, starting to sweat or starting to heavily breathe. This is remarkable.
that's what she does.
He uses illustrators and he's also showing some expression of emphasis in his face. It's remarkable. He can stare in the camera and lie through his teeth.
And for her not to respond to any of her people, that, I mean, if she doesn't respond to me, that's fine. I mean, like, she's busy, she's got stuff going on. But not to respond to her people, though, that was not like her. I was trying to get home as fast as I can. I was blowing through stoplights. I was blowing through.
This is odd that he's laughing. You know, he doesn't show drooping delight. At least I don't see much asymmetry in his face. So that makes him look very innocent. But saying he's laughing about it, so that's strange. Sort of signs of happiness.
If she's vanished, like, I want her back so bad. I want those kids back so bad.
Again, he's laughing. It's just hilarious to him. So that is, of course, a big red flag.
Yeah, I mean, nothing. Everybody's gonna have their own opinion on anything like this. I just
His voice is breaking a little bit when he talks about the opinions of other people. So he's trying to stay calm, but he's less comfortable right now.
People know that I want my family back. Like, I want them safe, and I want them here. Like, this house is not the same. I mean, last night was traumatic. Last night was. I can't really stay in this house again, like, with nobody here.
So he's talking about himself again.
I wanted to see this kid just run in, just barrel rush me and just give me a hug and knock me on the ground.
So that part is very believable. He's moving around. He believes what he's saying at this moment. It's remarkable. No sign of guilt.
Like, I'm not sure if they're safe somewhere, just huddle up somewhere, or...
Amazing, amazing. He put him in an oil tank, his little kids. And he's talking about them being huddled up somewhere, being safe. It's remarkable. I'm really baffled.
We have camera there, neighbor has a camera. Everything.
And he's showing also his teeth, so there's a little bit of aggression here right now. So he doesn't like these kind of questions. I don't know about the cameras. Maybe there were break-ins on the street. Maybe it's quite normal to have cameras in the neighborhood. To me, it might be an indicator that he's quite controlling. Finally, we see him from far away.
Suspect anything right now as far as how she could have left, or if someone came picked her up, or if somebody took her.
Now he looks quite alone and he's hugging himself and vulnerable, or putting a barrier up, you know, being defensive. Yeah, probably a combination of both. So he was described in court as very calm. However, now we can see the distress in his face. The distressed eyes, there's a sign of fear, how they're wide open. The nose is quite red, so he's close to crying, in fact, and how he presses his mouth together and makes his face very long. This is a childlike expression when we try to look poor and innocent and wanting the sympathy of the parents or the mother. However, his head is not going down. He doesn't feel guilt and shame somehow. So why did he do it? The obvious explanation is that he felt trapped in his life, that he didn't want it, that he hoped to get out and start a new one without responsibility. And that's also what the affairs might indicate. Especially the pregnancy and young kids can be very stressful when having money problems. His wife also seemed to do better work-wise than he did. In fact, she just came back from a business trip, which left him alone with the kids. And he was about to lose his job, so his manly pride was probably damaged strongly. But while all this is a motive, it doesn't explain why he really acted on his impulses. He could have run away, or he could have got a divorce. Also, everyone would have despised him for leaving his pregnant wife and young family. If we don't look as a person as an individual, but part of a larger family system, containing the relatives and the background even generations back, something else would come to mind. Shanann Watts, having been sick heavily and having hooked up with him and chose to start a family with him, might indicate that she was setting herself up for failure and disaster. Maybe in previous generations, people in her family came to harm or death, and this is a way to equalize, to fulfill justice within the family system, even if it's generations later. Of course, it doesn't mean that he doesn't bear the guilt. Of course, he is completely guilty of the crimes. It's just that she put herself in danger and in a way punished herself for some trauma which happened in her family before, where maybe kids came to harm. So in some sense, murder within the family. Maybe to his family, a generation or two back, injustice was done. And now this was a kind of revenge, of course completely misplaced. Okay, these were just a few extra thoughts to make some sense out of it. I hope more light is shed on the background of these people and how it came to this crime. And I hope you liked the video. Talk to you next time. Bye.